Hey, everybody. Welcome to Center the Podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Braverman, and I'm sharing holistic content that reconnects you to your most centered self, the place within you that is energized, knowing, and uplifted despite the chaos and demands of life. I offer this perspective from my background as a scientist, a movement specialist, a yogi, and a mom with over 20 years of guiding clients on their transformational journeys from healing back pain to up-leveling capacity and energy. Because once you're centered, you become the portal of possibility. I want to talk today about the sacred art of resting and talk about some different types of rest, some more non-standard stuff. But first, I always think of rest as a sacred practice because it's when we are able to best repair the body and activate self-healing. And we optimize self-healing when we get enough rest. And this happens all the way down at the cellular level. And then it also allows space for accelerating the process of evolution. So that self-actualization that we're experiencing right now due to all the changing energies coming in and that are available to us for this shift in consciousness. And the thing I like to think of with rest is that it's an opportunity to really slow down and feel your inner being. And as you do this, you're really starting to receive the power of your internal self, that connection to your intuition, your soul intelligence. This all requires rest because when the nervous system is too keyed up, you can't receive these messages. So as you begin to build this idea and safety around the comfort of resting, you're able to let the nervous system really unwind and up level so that you can receive more and more of your authenticity and what's you. So we all have an internal feminine and an internal masculine, regardless of gender. And the internal feminine is really associated with nourishment, rest, receiving, repair, rebalancing, revitalizing. That's the role. And there's a more of a slowness and flow and creativity associated with this internal aspect. And the internal masculine is the devotion to hold space for the internal feminine. And it's also any aligned actions that need to happen in order for that flow to express. So we're going through this period on Earth, in our humanity of balance, starting to create more balance between the internal feminine and the internal masculine. Obviously, we've gone through this phase of doing and associating success with achievement and doing and completion. And we're integrating this softer side of allowing and accepting and acknowledging. And this is all the feminine. But in order to start to really connect to the internal feminine, there has to be enough safety, right? This is the role of the masculine, enough safety to really allow the nervous system to unwind. And one of the best ways I've found to do this is like the standard thought you have when you think of rest, laying down on your bed or couch or in nature and closing your eyes and just allowing and being without any requirements, no have tos, no shoulds, no I didn't this, I didn't that, just really settling into stillness. And my experience with this, I started this as a practice about 2 years ago, where every day I started to lay down for 20 minutes. And when I first started, like, I couldn't really do it that well. Like, I would either pass out completely for way too long and wake up groggy, or I wouldn't be able to release enough to feel any release and tension in my body because I was trying to fit it in as a practice in between things and not giving myself enough time. So I really had to create strategy. And I started to realize that that strategy was the internal masculine starting to create space for my ability to like really nourish the internal feminine. So my experience was I started to dial in the time of day and the like how long was right for me because sometimes 20 minutes wasn't enough. Sometimes 45 I would fall asleep and I would wake up groggy and not be able to drive and do the stuff I needed to do. Sometimes, some days, like with waves of life, like I would need like a full hour or more of rest. And I started receiving energy work at distance. Magdalena healing it's one of the things that I do as well, which is the super high frequency of ascended master Mary Magdalena. And it's a frequency that I learned and was initiated into and can practice at distance. And so I was receiving from other practitioners, and it just really helped me activate that internal feminine so that I could learn how to rest really well. So learning to just release in that time that I had started to become like a great desire, almost like a game. Like, okay, I have 25 minutes. How restful can I become in those 25 minutes? And what I noticed, like the long term gains were enormous. I just started to really self heal and self actualize in ways that I hadn't before. So connecting with my soul, starting to feel like my ability to heal injuries was much faster. Cellular repair was faster. I was able to optimize just nutrition faster. My digestion improved. There were so many very clear benefits, but mostly what I felt was I just felt better. I just felt so much better. I don't think I realized how exhausted I was. And I find that in our culture, especially with people in my community, moms, people who, dog moms, pet moms, like just most women, frankly, just because of this time period where we have not been honoring the divine feminine enough, and we're coming through this phase where the energies are here to support us, there is a strong need to really lay down and rest and get that rest in and then dial that rest in specific for you. But there's also a bunch of non-standard rest types that I want to talk about. One of them is speaking rest. And I love this one because your energy is more powerful than your words. But most of us respond instantly with words. And so we don't really have the opportunity to experience how powerful our energy is just in being present with whatever is happening. And so speaking rest can be a great way to start to experience the power of your presence, the power of your speaking rest. And if you want to be more intentional about how to use your words in conversation, you can look into active listening and passive listening. But in short, active listening is asking intentional questions that lead the person you're in conversation with to sort of figure out what's best for them on their own without your opinions. And passive listening is this idea of just being there with them in presence and being your energy, being self-aware of your energy in conversation. The second one is social rest. And social rest is a fun one because it's just, you get to clear your calendar. And just, I like the idea of this phrase that I learned when I was married and going through divorce. We were talking about how best to support each other with a Gottman therapist. And Gottman therapy is super awesome. If you are interested in that, check it out. But the Gottman therapist that we were working with came up with this term of scheduling unscheduled time because both of us hadn't had that in so long. And so the idea of unscheduled time is really no agenda. Create time for yourself with absolutely no agenda and make sure in that time you're not like scrolling, you're not getting news. It really has to be unscheduled so that you can connect with yourself and be in that flow state of what's best for you, following your impulses, following your synchronicities, and just allowing yourself that joy of being. So it kind of ties back in with this idea of presence and being able to connect both with your inner feminine and masculine, and like having the strategy to do that. The third type is creative rest, which is, so fun. Playing music, singing, dancing, drawing, coloring, whatever you like to do for that sort of artistic creative connection. And I think the caveat really is not being connected to any sort of completion or success or targeted goal. And that's when you really get into that nourishment of creative rest. Another one is mental rest, and that's your stillness meditation and allowing yourself to just receive information from your soul or receive quiet, just nothing. Allow it. Let it repair you, let it heal you. And then the next two I kind of made up on my own. I think the first few are kind of more available, but this next two I made up. The next one is environmental rest. You guys know I was an environmental scientist for over 10 years, so nature's always really important to me. But the idea of prioritizing getting natural light and fresh air and feeling the sensuality of nature through texture and touch, touching the trees, maybe touching the leaves, smelling is such a big one for me in nature. And then even possibly, if you can, being barefoot and grounding into that environmental nature rest option. And the last one is textile rest. So I'll go through these periods where I'm like, all right, I need to do a little evaluation of microplastics, where they're hiding in my life, and can I take a break from them? And usually I can find something that I'm wearing every day that has microplastics in it. And if you just set yourself up using the power of strategy, right, of that divine masculine, of just saying, okay, maybe for the next day, I'm not going to wear any microplastics or anything that isn't a natural fiber is really what I mean. So checking your labels and just starting to bring that awareness. And then with all of these non-standard types of rest, having the ability to check back in with yourself and, just notice how you feel. Do you feel an activation of more balance, more nourishment, more revitalization in your system that has maybe led to more self-healing or self-actualization? So I have a few prompts for you if you want to use them. When you are thinking about the standard type of rest of laying down, closing your eyes, and just letting whatever happens. A really good way to find a space in your day for that is to ask yourself, when do you notice a dip in energy in your day? And can you rest for 20 to 30 minutes around that time, or ideally before that happens? And if you can only do it on the weekends or irregularly, fine, whatever, just say yes, right? It's not about doing it every day for some people. For me, it was, but maybe not for you. And then if you can't say yes to that, the next question is, what's blocking you from prioritizing that block of time? And this is especially important for during pregnancy, for new moms. I mean, and I was talking with a friend the other day, just saying, like, I think the first 10 years of parenting, we become so exhausted even when we're resting. And then the next 10 years of parenting are catching up from that. So if you can catch this rest and prioritize this rest in those early formative years, it can be really powerful. And it's not just for moms, right? It's for everybody. But I just happen to have that as in my background. And then, as far as like the non-standard types of rest, which of the ones that I mentioned excite you, right? The idea is with tapping into your feminine divine or and tapping into your soul, tapping into your intuition is you're following your curiosity, you're following what excites you. So, of the speaking rest, social rest, creative rest, mental rest, environmental rest, and textile rest, what sounds exciting and new and novel to you? And pursue that and see where you go in your process of nourishing and rebalancing and ultimately becoming that portal of possibility. Lots of love. And if that episode resonated with you and you'd like to go deeper into your healing journey, check out my newly released book, Centered: The Art of Living from Within, now available on Amazon. Or head over to centeredbyleslie.com to schedule a no-cost strategy session for wellness coaching, Ayurvedic therapies and herbal consults, back pain healing, and yoga. I'm looking forward to working with you.